She says she wants love. She says she wants safety. She says she wants a man who understands her, listens to her, supports her. But her shadow, the part she hides even from herself, wants something very different. Not love, not comfort, not kindness. It wants power. It wants to be conquered. It wants to feel something deeper than affection. It wants to surrender, not to a man who begs, but to a man who doesn't flinch. Carl Jung didn't sugarcoat human nature. He said the shadow isn't evil. It's repressed desire. It's what you crave but deny, what you secretly long for but can't admit out loud. And when it comes to women, this shadow is often mistaken as emotional confusion. It's not. It's psychological contradiction. She'll say she wants connection, but ignore the man who gives it freely. She'll say she wants presence, but fantasize about the one who disappeared. She'll say she wants equality, but chase the one she feels beneath. Not because she's lying, but because her conscious mind is disconnected from her subconscious hunger. Jung would call this a split between the persona and the shadow. Her persona is polite, emotional, and socially trained to crave stability. But her shadow? It's feral. It's erotic. It's drawn to dominance, to mystery, to the feeling of being taken psychologically, not physically. This is why she can't stop thinking about the man who never chased her, the one who made her wait, the one who didn't reply, the one who triggered her insecurity, made her question herself, pulled her into a psychological submission, not because he was toxic, but because he understood something. Desire isn't born from availability. It's born from distance, from tension, from emotional danger. And that's what her shadow craves. See, every woman lives with an inner polarity, between the girl who wants to be held and the woman who wants to be owned psychologically, not in a controlling, physical way, but in the sense that she wants to feel overpowered by presence. She wants to surrender to a man who doesn't seek permission to lead. A man who is unapologetically himself, even if it means walking away. And yet, she'll never say this out loud. She'll call this games. She'll say, "I just want someone consistent." She'll text you, "Why are you distant?" even though that exact distance is what keeps her hooked. Carl Jung knew this paradox intimately. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Her shadow doesn't want love that is safe. It wants to feel the loss of control, the emotional whiplash of being in the presence of a man who is not seeking her validation. Because validation kills submission, and her shadow thrives when she has to earn your presence, not receive it passively. That's why she loses interest the moment you get too available. That's why she tests you with silence. That's why she picks fights out of nowhere, just to feel your energy rise. She doesn't want the man who explains himself. She wants the man who doesn't care if she misunderstands. She doesn't want the man who gives her everything, She wants the one who knows he is everything. And when you give her your full emotional availability too soon, her shadow starves. Because you've removed the tension. You've turned the fire into a warm bath. And she's not interested in bathing. She's interested in burning. Let that sink in. Her shadow doesn't want to be adored. It wants to be claimed, psychologically, not with flowers, not with poems, but with stillness, detachment, depth, danger, the danger of your silence, the danger of your standards, the danger of your ability to walk away without explanation. Because in that moment, she's no longer in control. And that's when her mind begins to unravel. The shadow takes over. She replays your words. She analyzes your tone. She questions her worth. And the more uncertain she becomes, the deeper she desires you. This isn't manipulation. It's polarity. It's the magnetic force of masculine detachment meeting feminine surrender. But only a man rooted in himself can create that effect. Most men ruin it. They show interest too fast. They over-explain. They get emotional. They chase. And in doing so, they bypass her shadow. They speak only to her persona, the polite version of her, the version that smiles and nods, but never obsesses. To reach obsession, you must reach her shadow. And to reach her shadow, you must be unapologetically sovereign. No need to convince her. No need to prove anything. Just exist in your own truth and let her orbit you. Because the truth is, her shadow doesn't remember the man who texted her "good morning" every day. It remembers the one who made her wait. The one who didn't reply right away. The one who made her question what she really wants. And the more she questioned, the more she submitted to the mystery. Most men get confused when women pull away. They panic. They overthink. They text more. They try harder. But what if I told you she's not pulling away to leave? She's pulling away to see if you will chase. And the moment you do, she loses respect. Not because she's evil, not because she's a game player, but because her shadow is testing one thing. Can you hold frame? Carl Jung taught that the unconscious mind constantly searches for equilibrium. And when a woman enters your orbit, her shadow begins pushing on your boundaries, on your presence, on your masculinity, looking for tension, looking for resistance. She doesn't want submission from you. She wants to submit to you, but only if you're worthy. Her shadow is ancient. It doesn't care about compliments. It doesn't care about effort. It only responds to energy. So what does she do? She tests, subtly, violently, unconsciously. She becomes cold. She stops replying. She starts flirting with chaos. Not to hurt you, but to see what you'll do when she no longer validates your position. This is where most men fail. They break. They get emotional. They send "what's wrong" texts. They beg for clarity. But clarity is not what she wants. She already knows what she wants. She wants to feel that you are unmoved, that her absence doesn't shake your ground, that her silence doesn't make you collapse, that her unpredictability meets your emotional immovability. Because only when you don't chase does she feel the weight of your presence. And the more grounded you are, the more unshakable your energy becomes, the more her shadow feels the tension that turns into submission. Not to you as a man, but to you as a psychological presence. This is the truth men aren't taught. She doesn't fantasize about being loved endlessly. She fantasizes about being penetrated psychologically by a mind stronger than hers. Not physically, mentally, energetically. She wants to feel your frame more than your affection. She wants to feel your power more than your validation. She wants to feel your command more than your softness. When she withdraws affection, when she becomes moody, cold, sarcastic, she's not rejecting you. She's searching for structure. And if you crumble, she knows she can't lean on you. If you break emotionally, she knows she's more dominant. If you try to fix it instantly, she knows she owns your nervous system. But if you stay still, if you hold your frame, if you wait like a king on his throne, not a boy outside her door, her shadow begins to soften, because now, finally, she can relax. Not because you gave her love, but because you gave her direction. You gave her something stronger than her chaos. You didn't punish her. You didn't beg her. You didn't even react. And that non-reaction made her crave your attention more than any poem ever could. Because deep down, her shadow doesn't want to be equal. It wants to feel tension. It wants to feel depth. It wants to feel the edge of emotional surrender and the moment of collapse. But only when it's safe to collapse. And safety isn't found in softness. It's found in masculine containment. This is why the nice guy dies in her mind, why the emotionally available man becomes invisible, why the logical, kind, vulnerable man never gets past her persona. Because her persona wants love. Her shadow wants domination. And domination doesn't mean control. It means leadership without fear. It means making decisions without second-guessing. It means knowing your truth and not compromising it for approval. It means walking away when boundaries are crossed, not explaining why, not negotiating, just leaving. Every time you do that, her shadow remembers. It remembers the man who stayed quiet when she tried to provoke him. It remembers the man who pulled back the moment she disrespected the connection. It remembers the man who didn't fear losing her, because he never needed her to feel whole. And in that memory, submission is born. She doesn't kneel to weakness. She doesn't obsess over attention. She bows, mentally, to strength, to distance, to power. And that power isn't in what you say. It's in what you don't do. You don't chase. You don't explain. you don't flinch. Because you understand that her tests are not rejections. They are calls for leadership. And if you fail those tests, she moves on. Not because she didn't care, but because she had to become the masculine one. And once that happens, the polarity dies. Jung believed that energy between people is always seeking balance. And if she has to be in control, she will resent you. But if you remain the grounded core of the connection, she will melt, even if she doesn't understand why. That's not psychology. That's shadow alchemy. And most men never access it, because most men want to be liked, not respected, not felt, not feared. But her shadow doesn't fall for what is nice. It bows to what is unchangeable. She'll never say it out loud. She won't post it. She won't text it. She won't even admit it to herself. But her entire emotional world shifts the moment you stop seeking her approval, because that's when she stops looking for love and starts craving submission. Not submission in the weak sense, not submission out of fear, but the kind that feels like gravity, undeniable, irresistible, and safe inside power. Carl Jung understood that every human being is at war with their own desires. What we say we want, and what our unconscious truly seeks, are often polar opposites. She might be the woman who talks about softness, communication, romance. But when faced with a man who gives her everything up front, she goes cold. Because her shadow isn't wired for instant gratification. It's wired for tension, waiting, craving, unraveling. Her mind tells her, I want a man who's open. But her body, her energy, her soul whispers something darker. I want to feel his power without him ever having to prove it. And that power is silence, stillness, command. Not dominance through words or ego, but the masculine force that doesn't react, doesn't beg, doesn't chase. She tries to push it away. She tests it. She tells herself it's toxic, but her shadow feels it. And it responds with the deepest feminine instinct of all: surrender. This is the moment the dance begins, when a man no longer tries to impress her, when he doesn't flinch when she goes cold, when he sees through the walls and doesn't try to climb over, because he knows she will come down on her own, or not at all. That's when she starts folding, slowly, silently, without understanding why. And the harder she tries to resist it, the deeper she falls into it, because her shadow knows something her persona forgot. Control is exhausting. Being the strong one, leading the emotional dynamic, testing, pushing, protecting. It wears her down. And when she meets a man who won't be controlled, a man who won't play the emotional rescue game, a man who sees her tests as noise not danger. She exhales. Finally, she can let go. Because someone stronger is holding the frame. This is what most men miss. They think dominance is about aggression. That leadership is about shouting louder. That control means controlling her. But the true submission she craves doesn't come from being pushed. It comes from feeling something so deeply grounded that she can collapse into it. Collapse into a presence that doesn't waver. Collapse into silence that feels like steel. Collapse into a man who doesn't flinch. Even when she cries, rages, goes silent, disappears. He simply remains. He doesn't pull her back. He doesn't punish her. He doesn't reward the chaos. He simply offers this. This is who I am. You're free to orbit it or leave. And in that freedom, her shadow bows. Because for the first time, she's not being emotionally babysat. She's being mirrored in her chaos, reflected in her tests, faced with a man who won't become small to make her feel big. And now, the games stop. She replies faster. She watches your every move. She studies your silence. She dresses better. She stops pulling away. Why? Because her shadow is no longer chasing power. It found it. In you. In your stillness. In your ability to not need her love in order to hold your center. And that's what makes her surrender. Not to a man who gave her the world, but to the man who was never afraid to withhold it. That is the man she cannot replace. That is the man she never forgets. That is the man her shadow worships in silence. So if you're tired of being the man who always gives, always explains, always waits, stop. Stop chasing the persona. Start speaking to her shadow. Not with charm, not with scripts, but with your energy. Hold frame. Don't react. Walk away when disrespected. Say less. Mean more. Be cold. Until warmth is earned. Because when she realizes you're the only man she can't manipulate, she will feel the one thing her shadow secretly desires more than anything else: the freedom to surrender. Call to action. If this video exposed something you've felt but never had words for, if you've been the man who gave too much, or the woman who couldn't explain her desire for power, then like this video, so it reaches the ones who need it. Comment below. What did this awaken in you? Subscribe if you're done with fake self-help and ready for psychological fire. And if this helped you reclaim your energy, consider sending a super thanks to support future truths most people are too scared to say. This is Psychatic, and we don't speak for the weak.